Thank you so much for being able to join to the Marathon of Knowledge. Znanie первое. I give it the floor. Thank you. Thank you, Yulia. Hello, friends. Good morning, everyone. I hope you find time to enjoy the smell of the flowers here, to be able to you have time to see the sea as we're on the seashore. But we need to get back to business, and we'll try to combine these two things. On the one hand, we have a lecture on a very serious topic. On the other hand, it will be an interactive meeting with the elements, components of a game. We will suggest that you guess what happened in particular situations related to a very exciting topic. The topic of how the Rosatom company from the traditional Soviet ministry in just a couple of dozens of years was able to turn into a global leader. We'll study this case, we'll talk about the cultural diversity in many countries of the world and many other things. And now I give the floor to Sergey, to my colleague. Good morning, Sergey. I'm very happy to be here in the epicenter that attracts the future leaders at the the Youth Festival, and I'm sure that there is a great future before all of you, and I will be happy if I'm able to share my personal experience and my professional experience with you, and I'll be happy if it helps you to find your way in a personal and professional life. For business cases that I'm going to talk about today, to be clearer to you, I'll say a couple of words about Rosatom. Rosatom is a state Russian corporation. We have over 400 enterprises, 360 workers, and the geography covers a huge territory from Kaliningrad to Vladivostok. We have our own nuclear facility cities. It's where our enterprise is the only employer. We have 31 nuclear cities with 2.5 million people. So we are like a small country within the bigger country. And we are proud that we are one of the largest corporations of our country and the world. Last year, our revenue reached the point of 2.5 trillion rubles. In dollars, US dollars, that's about 27 billion. And the major part of this revenue, last year it was about 16 billion, is sourced from the international projects. We work over 60 countries of the world. In the context of understanding that it's important not only to talk about energy, but the kind of energy, we're proud that Rosatom works with the green, environmentally friendly energy. Our country generates 20% of electricity at the nuclear plants, and the European part of the country here in the south. I can assure you that that 1 in 3 projectors give the light thanks to the nuclear stations, to the NPP in Balakova and in other sites as well. Let's applaud to the nuclear energy sector of Russia. And more and more people are thinking about the green planet, about the green energy, and atom nuclear energy is very relevant today. Why is nuclear energy important? What would I like to share with you today? Nuclear technologies is the top of the engineering thought. It's one of the best things that human beings have created. Probably it can be on par only with the flight to the space. And it serves the humanity. And for these technologies to be supported, not only developed, we need to invest a lot of efforts, a lot of funds into scientific research, trials, developments. Even such a big country as Russia wouldn't be able to do it if we relied only on the application of these technologies within our own country, then the market would be way too small and our opportunities would be very few. From the very beginning of the existence of the nuclear energy and technologies in our country, and next year we're going to celebrate the anniversary of 80 years of the nuclear energy in Russia, because it all started in 1845 when we needed to respond to the creation of the nuclear bomb by the Americans. We have always been thinking not only about working in our country, but working and operating in the whole world, and to be an international company, to be a company that is able to talk with various clients and customers is very important. And today I'd like to tell you how we walked through this path and what obstacles were on our way. It all started long ago. The first supply of the enriched uranium, the Soviet uranium to the West, was in 1973, and that was the year when I was born. And I'm very happy that these two events coincided. In the 70s, in the 80s, we were actively building the nuclear stations in the friendly nations that were part of the Warsaw Agreement: the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Hungary, Finland. Capitalistic nations were also among these countries. Then an important event took place in Chernobyl. There was an accident, and then there was the collapse of the USSR. But nevertheless, the nuclear industry withstood, and regardless of these complications, continued improving the technologies, building NPPs. In 2007, we made a decision to establish the Rosatom State Atomic Energy Corporation, and in 2011, we decided that we need to seriously work on the international business, and the decision to establish this business was made 10 days later, after another serious incident that took place in Japan at the NPP Fukushima. And many people would say, what international business are you talking about? Because this will be the end of the nuclear energy in the world. No one would trust this technology. But it happened the other way around. In
in 2010, the share was some 10%. The countries, you bring in the technology to one country, another one starts trusting you, and they allow the construction of the NPP, and you realize, of course, that the responsibility is very high. So in 2024, despite all the difficulties that the world is exposed to, and this country as well, our share at the international market is 88%. Just think of it. We have 25 blocks under construction, and 22 belong to Rosatom. So that's what Rosatom is building in the other countries. It is a result of huge work, and this work has been built on two principles. One is very important, and we realized well what will be happening in the world. When we started this competition, our major competitors were Americans and the French. The Americans and the French, and they got used to working in the developed Western market with a lot of construction going on, and it is actually reference to the end of the 20th century, and there was a lot of construction, and the customers have been placing orders with different suppliers. Nuclear island, the turbine belong to different manufacturers. But we realized that the world is changing. There was no global south as we refer to it now, but we realized that the major development will take place in China, India, Asia Pacific, Africa, Southern America, and it was necessary to provide comprehensive engineering solutions to these countries. It is having the turnkey projects, bringing in nuclear fuels, because the cycle of life of the NPP is 60 or even 100 years. So could you imagine what it is? You come to the country and you start talking about the project that will be in operation for 100 years, and normally it's not like that. It might be a project of 4 or 5 years, but people had to take a decision for something that will still be with them in the country for 100 years. Of course, it is very impressive. So we turned to these countries and we provided both the technologies there, and we bring in the foreign students from those countries into Russia to study in the universities to become nuclear engineers, sponsored by the Russian governments. We develop regulations and we set up established the watchdogs over there, and we also help to explain why nuclear energy is safe, why it is very useful. So, going in for that kind of comprehensive approach, we did manage to win the market share because our competitors were not ready for that kind of developments.
Которые в целом в мире строятся, 49 строятся в
49 units out of 58 are constructed in the countries that do not belong to the golden billion, and we are at that market, and we are the leaders there. Another reason why we were a success is because under the decision of President of Russia, we were set up as a state corporation, uniting all the nuclear cooperation, starting from production, mining of natural uranium, and up to the decommissioning of the NPPs. And when the customers would like to deal with a single partner, we are the only corporation that can offer that kind of turnkey solutions. And then you have to understand that any success depends on the experience and the qualified personnel. We have 360,000 men and women working in the operation, highly qualified, and you are supposed to have a higher education to work even as an operator, and a 10-year experience. And on the face of it, it is just an applied specialty. So, of course, to develop science and technology, you have to be well educated. What was the problem for us? In the Soviet Union, the name was the Ministry of the Intermediate Machinery, and I was wondering why such a strange name. Well, and I was told that it is named that way so that nobody would guess what is that. So then there were no people that had experience of conducting business, and so not only seniors senior generations did not know English, but even the youngsters could not talk English. And myself, I realized that the interpreters do not interpret correctly, and I had to learn English myself. And I realized that either I would be interpreted not correctly, or I will have to learn the language myself. So when the businessmen and the entrepreneurs work together with the engineers realize that they will deliver, they will perform better, earn more money. But much time was required to realize that, but we managed to do that, and we did not just hire people from the outside. We cannot possibly get 360 new people. We had to inspire those personnel that have been working in the company already. The youngsters had to see that there might be a bright career for them in the corporation, and they would be able to do something good for the company. And indeed, it is something to be proud of, and people at the construction sites realize that what they are building that would stay for 100 years for their grandchildren and great-grandchildren to see. And in much long time ago, the contest for one slot to enter the Physical Engineering Institute was 1.5. Now it is 15 men for one slot. So we can get the best out of the best students for our cooperation. And talking about the Latin name, and so we didn't even had the cooperation in English or in Latin letters, and they used to refer to it as POC atom instead of Rosatom. Of course, when you work abroad, you should respect your partners, even if they don't know much about nuclear technologies. You have to respect them. You have to be on equal footing with them, and only equitable cooperation could provide results. We are the only cooperation working throughout the life cycle of the NPPs. You can see the geography, and our share is 88% at the market. We are number 1, 2, or 3 at the markets of different stages of the cycles, at mining, enrichment, etc. And what is important is that we have the achievements, but we do not just idle, we do not mark time. We are interested in what would happen in the future, and we build the future, we make the future. And we expect that we would have 4 trillion rubles revenue in 2030, and we wish our technologies would still be the best in the world, and that would enable our 360,000 people working in the corporation to be proud of it. And for you to achieve that, we will have a short business training. We will play the game, what will happen next, and Mr. Kirill will be saying what was the challenge was, and you will have to guess what really happened. And so the first story from the first case from your history. Yes, this story is one of my favorites. So if you look at the map, the tip of the triangle on the map of India, there was a construction site for the NPP. When we started constructing it, there was quite a large village, a few thousand people habitating over there, and they were fishermen. They were in the fishing fish and shrimps in the Indian Ocean. So we coexisted peacefully quite some time, but then the environment activists have been stirring up the dissent among the fishermen. And they used to say that when the NPP is in place, it would affect badly the environment. And one morning we realized that there is a rally all around the construction site, and those protesting were saying that we want to leave. Then the question for you: what happened next? You can scan the QR code. You can use. You can do your voting and take your pick. What happened next? So the issue was resolved by the government, or it was necessary to relocate the construction site, or was the village relocated to another province? In 4 weeks, the fishermen calmed down, or there is no right answer over here. We will give you time for voting, and would you please show the options on the screen? Because I don't think everybody could manage to grasp it. I could see that those at the front row are just wondering. Okay, if not, we will just keep the picture on the screen longer next time. But we can see over here that the leading is that the fishermen calm down and they're on their own. But I can tell my own personal story when I used to work as a reporter for NTV TV channel in 2011, and together with the so-called nuclear kids, that is from the nuclear facility cities that were in some doing creative things, music, performances, theaters, and so the team went to Vietnam, and Sergey Maloyomov, the press secretary of Rosatom, used to tell me that the purpose of the visit is to show it to the local citizens that there are regular people living in the cities. They are not those that have the horns and whatever mutants, but they are just talented and usual people. Okay, over here, the voting is that the village was relocated, so that was a drastic approach. No need to do the protesting, just go live elsewhere, and then there is no right answer here. In fact, yes, that's true. People are concerned, and you cannot possibly address the issue at the governmental level. The government does want to build the NPP, and over here you have protesting fishermen. But actually, I think we were actually quite efficient. And for your understanding, the stoppage of the construction cost, the downtime cost $1 million per one day. And so we hired an airplane, and we invited the elders of this village to visit the NPP in China. It was built it had been built 3 years before, and there is a fisherman village over there as well. And so those people did not believe anyone, they didn't believe any officials, so they went over there to China, and through the interpreter they had a discussion with the citizens living in China, and those reassured them, it is great, it's not bad, there will be many people living over here, and you will be able to sell your shrimps to those people working at the NPP, and the water will be warmer, the shrimps will be larger, and you will catch more. And everyone calmed down, and the construction was completed. And how are the fishermen doing? Fine, there are even skyscrapers built in the vicinity. Okay, so that's the case now. That's how you're supposed to conduct international business, getting adapted to the things happening.
Let's move on to the next case. When we started thinking about going into the international market, entering the international market, we were looking for a partner because we understood that it was impossible to do it on our own. We found the French company, Rosatom. We produced very good nuclear reactors, and they produced good turbines. And it was a very natural cooperation, but negotiations were going very hard. And we realized that it is not because we couldn't agree upon some business issues. We just weren't able to perceive each other as human beings. They didn't know much about Russians. They thought that Russians live in a very faraway land where it's very cold. There are some drilled wells with the oil, and people play balalaikas, and there are bears. But in 2000s, this was the perception of Russians in the world. And then the negotiations came to a halt, to deadlock, because we wanted them to become our partners, because that would help us to conquer new markets. So what happened next? The possible answers. The issue was solved at the level of the governments of the countries. The deal was closed, but under the condition to purchase a 10-year wine supply. The negotiations lasted for 2 more years. The deal was declined, or there is no right answer among the answers given. I also have a 2011 case that I remember. In France, we were working and we were investigating the attitude of the owners of vineyards to the NPP's construction. And there was an owner of the vineyard who'd say that he had very good wine. And you know that wine for the French is very important. And I would ask people around, we were walking down the street, we would ask questions, why aren't you afraid of the nuclear energy? And they would say, we understand that if we don't have the nuclear energy, then we would have a very expensive electricity, just like the Germans have, because they rejected the nuclear energy. So this is a very reasonable approach. Example, Sergei, you've just confused everyone, and that is why everyone voted for the second answer. The deal was closed, but under the condition to purchase a 10-year wine supply. Well, actually, there is no right answer here, and it is partially related to the wine. There was a crisis of the negotiations. It was August, and in August, the French do not work. They go to resorts and they go on vacations, and it is improper to even call them and ask them about their working issues. And I decided to be confident, and I visited my French colleague, went to the village where he was relaxing, and we found out all of a sudden that despite the fact that I'm Russian, we can talk about many other things, not just balalaikas. We can talk about everyday life, about wine. And it is important for all our projects to find the chemistry between people. All of a sudden, my French colleague understood that I'm just like him, and he can trust me, and we can just talk to each other. We didn't agree upon anything, upon any working issues, but we were able to break the ice. And when in the fall, in autumn, when we got back to the negotiations, all of a sudden we reached a very mutually beneficial agreement. And we have orders for 5 billion years for the upcoming 10 years, and the French are happy, and we are happy, and it really helps us. And I think in the development of international business, you need to have very good liver. Vineyards are often very closely located to the NPP's construction sites. In Hungary, for example, there are many vineyards around the construction site, and we made an agreement that after we conclude the construction works, we will drink wine together. And another case, there's a country, Bolivia. It's a mountainous country in Latin America. Its capital is on the highest point. It is 4,000 meters above the sea level. Every time I go there, for me, it is a challenge. It's very difficult to walk. It's very difficult to breathe, because 4,000 meters above the sea level is like being almost halfway to the top of the mountain, a very high mountain. It's a multinational state. They have very numerous local community with their own traditions and religions, confessions. And since 2010, we've been implementing important projects there. We are building the research reactor complex with a lot of laboratories, and next year we're completing this project. It is located in the mountainous area, and the Bolivians, they pay money for that. And when the works started on the construction site, the majority of works are implemented by the local Bolivian companies, and the works were very complicated. We needed to insert tankers into big holes in the ground, and many workers wouldn't even try doing that because they didn't want to descend into these holes into the ground. There were many protests. What do you think happened next? In the previous questionnaires, no one believed in the political will of the countries, so this is still option one. The issue was solved by the government. Two, a local shaman was invited, and that is not the Russian singer. Answer three, online broadcasting from another nuclear construction site was organized. Alternative four, the local contracting company was replaced with the Russian one, or there is no right answer among the mentioned ones. Please vote. This chemistry with the partners is always important. It is true for all cultures. Indeed, and we even published a brochure, a corporate brochure, not for all the 60 countries that we work in, but when we send people to business trips, we give them these brochures so that they would know how to behave, when you need to hug people, when you cannot hug people because it will be offensive. If you can raise your big finger to show that you're happy, or in some countries you're not allowed to do that, and many other rules. People are very attentive. When I was announcing this case, I mentioned that there are many local tribes in the country who have their own traditions and confessions. What happened in this construction site? The workers believed that under the ground there was an evil spirit, and we needed to invite shaman who worked out the situation. He made a ritual, and since that time the construction works continued. I don't know if there was an evil spirit there or not, but anyhow the work continued. So it means that even if you don't understand something, even if you don't believe into something, you still need to respect other people's beliefs and way of life and way of work. So you need to find the flexible approach. You need to have emotional intellect. Rosatom can go on and on about interesting cases related to the international business, but let's look into the future and try to understand what is going to happen in the future with your help. Over the 15 years, the company has gone a long way. On this page of the presentation, we can see that Rosatom is engaged not only in the nuclear energy, but in other industries as well. Indeed, there are many technologies that are based on our basic knowledge. Apart from building NPPs, large NPPs, we also build floating NPPs of smaller sizes. We build nuclear icebreakers. We have the only nuclear icebreaker fleet. And just recently, the president of Russia participated in the launch of the new Leningrad icebreaker construction. We have our own windmills in the south of Russia. We have 9 big wind parks. 9 gigawatts is the capacity. We store the electrical energy because we believe that the electrical transport is our future. We're building 2 plants that will construct or rather manufacture up to 50 electrical accumulators per year. So it will be 100,000 electrical vehicles that will be in demand, and those who have already tried these cars, they will never go back to the diesel fueled cars. And if you have a chance at the VDNH in Moscow, we organized the whole museum of the nuclear industry. It will be a permanent exhibition even after the exhibition is closed. It's a 7-story museum, 4 stories above the ground, 3 stories under the ground. It is a very interesting museum. It will be interesting for adults, for children. There are billions of stories about how we worked, and there's also an exhibition dedicated of what we dreamt of. For example, people believe that there will be a nuclear plane, there will be a nuclear train in the future. We also brought the Chaika car that we thought about, and many other things. And many of these inventions were not implemented because it was the 60s, and physics, they dreamed about being progressive. They were a little bit romantic, but whatever we are engaged in today, from the carbon fiber that is used to build the wings of the plane and many other things. There are no limits to the scientific progress. So we'd like you to dream too. In your opinion, what Rosatom can also be engaged to, and what will we be proud in 2050? Today it is 2024. In your opinion, what will we be proud of as a company in 2050? So it is an open form question. So please follow the link and text, type the word that is associated with what Rosatom can be engaged in 2050. What comes to mind? Nuclear energy is a true magic. Energy is sourced from almost nowhere. It is a long-standing dream to create a mini model of a sun, like a whole model of the sun, and it is the belief, the true belief of the scientists, that humanity indeed will have the source of this endless free energy. And along the way, we are developing many useful things, and nuclear energy is often compared to going to space and exploring the space, because there are many debates whether humans need to go to space and research it, but many things have been invented on the way, and they are really useful. So we've got some tags. Once we see your answers, we'll get back to them. Kirill, what are you dreaming of for the company to achieve by 2050? I'd like to note that when the international business of Rosatom was first established, our speaker was about 35 years old, like many of you in the audience. So you have every chance in 15 years to be in this place in 25 years, to be in this chair and share their knowledge. Well, someone says to go to Mars, nuclear spaceships, nuclear energy in space. And by the way, these are not just fantasies, because there is no space without the nuclear engine. No energy will be enough to reach space. As for the AI, I think it is a very good answer, because we are engaged not only with AI, but with digital technologies in general. And we want our country to have a full-scale quantum computer. And this year, we have had photon ions developments based on various physical principles. Physics principles, they have a particular amount of qubits, up to 20. And I believe that we will use quantum technologies to answer the questions that are now left without answers. I think this future will come very soon. It is almost our present. So if someone got interested and intrigued by our field, I think, we've got 360,000 employees, and I'm sure that we'll find those who will try to implement, to make our dreams come true and join our team. And I'm sure there are many applications in medicine, in the environment, and all that is really true, because Rosatom is an amazing multi-profile, multi-industrial company. I'd like to thank Mr. Komarov, who's responsible for the international department of Rosatom.